All right, everybody, welcome to the Hunter's Quest podcast. This is your host, Hunter McWaters. It's great to be with you. And today I have a really fun conversation about one of my favorite topics, which is hunt films. I know it's something you guys, a lot of people are getting more into these days, is kind of capturing and documenting their hunts. And it's a lot of fun, whether you're doing it, for a project you got going or just doing it for fun for friends and family. Whatever it is, I really consider myself a student of great hunt films, what makes a great hunt film, and something I spend a lot of time thinking about, and I think it's very interesting and fun to talk about. So today I'm doing a podcast with the I can't remember his exact title, but I think he's basically in charge of content over at Stone Glacier, guy named ZACK BOUGHTON. So he's a great photographer, videographer. They just released an awesome film that ZACK produced called The Process, which is a long film starting from scouting, moving all the way to archery season and into rifle season of ZACK trying to track down and kill a mature mule deer buck in the mountains, which is, as I learned firsthand this year, no easy task. So, again, we talk a lot about hunting, obviously, but we really kind of dissect hunt films, what makes a great hunt film, and really talk about that topic, which I think is super interesting. I hope you guys do as well. But either way, it's great. And then at the end, we kind of have a little discussion about faith, which is cool because ZACK is a believer. And so we had a great conversation there. Hope you guys enjoy it. I'm going to ask you one more time, if you haven't yet, please go subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can search my name, Hunter McWaters, or you can search The Hunter's Quest. There you'll find video podcasts for every podcast I release. You'll find hunt films, how-to videos, gear reviews, and I'm going to be doing more and more of that type of content as things go out. And as we move further into hunting season and more of my TV episodes come out on the Sportsman channel, I'll be releasing web-only versions of those episodes as well, so you can stay up to date on the hunts. But on that note, if you have Sportsman channel, don't forget to check out the Hunter's Quest TV show. Best time to catch that is Mondays at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, and Saturdays at noon Eastern. So I got some really cool episodes rolling out in the next few weeks, and spent a lot of time working on that. So thank you guys for your support. Please share the show with friends and family. Please subscribe. Leave me a written review on the podcast and a 5-star rating. It really helps me out, and I'm just going to keep asking, guys. So just go ahead and do it. Just take 30 seconds. Go leave me a review. Subscribe. And, it's a free way of supporting what I'm doing here, and it means the world to me. So please do that, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode with ZACK BOUGHTON from Stone Glacier. See you guys in the next one. All right, guys, welcome to the Hunter's Quest podcast. This is your host, Hunter McWaters. And I'm here today with ZACK BOUGHTON. How you doing, dude?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for. I think I hit you up today, was it? And you're like, "Yeah, can we do it tonight?" And I was like, "Yeah,
You
let's
hit me
go."
up yesterday.
Okay, yesterday.
I just know if I don't try to squeeze it in, it's just gonna be a pain in the ass to
Yeah, no, that's good, man. I love it.
put together, especially now that it's August 1st, which is crazy.
I know, and I'm kind of I've been pretty busy, and I'm gearing up for a big trip to Alaska in 3 weeks. So I'm trying to just get as many podcasts recorded as I can, so I have stuff rolling out while I'm gone, and
Nice.
it's always kind of crunch time around here. So
I take it you're hunting in Alaska.
yeah. So we're going. It's actually gonna be pretty epic. We're going up on the North Slope, and I'm going to drop the name of the river because I did a podcast with the outfitter and he dropped it no problem. So I guess it's not a thing, but we're getting an airboat up the Ivashak River, which is way up near Prudhoe. And we're going to hunt I'm going to bring 12 days of food. I don't know if we'll stay that long, and then float out on pack rafts. So
Nice.
it should be pretty epic.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah. But anyway, man, what about you? Are you getting geared up for stuff? Have you been doing any scouting missions, or what have you been up to?
Yeah, I did a little loop on Saturday. I had just a couple old trail cameras that were out in the hills that I probably needed to go see if anything had walked in front of. So
Yeah. Any luck?
the justification to get out there and get a hike in, and mosquitoes were heinous.
Oof. Yeah.
That is probably like the third worst day out in the field as far as mosquitoes go. So that wasn't too fun, but
Right.
I got like 15 miles or something in, so that's good. I'm going to the Yukon to film a sheep hunt here in like 20 days, which I'm
Oh,
not worried
nice.
about, but it's probably good to at least have your feet ready.
Yeah, man. Who you filming?
Jason Peak,
Okay.
he's a guy that's big hunter. He's an attorney from Reno, Nevada, and kind of been in the industry. He's been part of the Rocky Mountain Goat Alliance. I think he's still on their board and friends with a lot of sheep hunters and just guys kind of in the know. And he's a friend of ours there at Stone Glacier. And so he has a sheep hunt, and we're like, hey
Nice.
man, like, you mind if we come up and like film? This would be kind of a cool project. And we're always looking for sheep hunts to go tag along with on because they're expensive, as we know, and we
Yeah.
can't afford to be buying them. So we're looking for people who have tags and hunts, and he was the top guy. So
Okay. Cool.
and he's gonna bow hunt, which is always rad.
Nice.
There's not a lot of guys willing to do that, which is what it is. I get it for how much money you spend, but it's unfortunate, I think. So I
Yeah.
know the guy's gonna have a rifle. I hope that it doesn't get any use at the end of the hunt. I hope we can get it done with the bow, but that's the plan.
Yeah, man. I mean, it'd be kind of scary, like you're saying, like being that invested. But they always say you got to commit. If you're gonna do bow, you got to commit and just like go for it.
Yeah.
And like if you bring the rifle, go, then you usually end up just grabbing it, right?
Yeah, I've been mentally pumping him up every time I talk to him because
Nice, man.
that's what it is. I mean, obviously the animal has to make a mistake, but it's mostly just a mental thing.
Yeah. So yeah, tell me a little bit about yourself, man. I don't know anything about you at all. It's the first time we've ever spoke. So, like, do you just like, do you have kids? You married? And then also like, how did you, I guess, what's kind of, just give me like the nutshell version of your sort of personal and professional history. Like what led you to where you are now?
Yeah. Um, so I grew up in North Idaho, Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls area. I grew up skiing a bunch in the winter, and my parents ended up kind of like getting into me into golf when I was like 12, 13 or somewhere in there, and I just really liked it. And we ended up living really close to a golf course, so I kind of gravitated to that and played that through high school, which um, I don't play golf anymore, which a lot of people think is hilarious because golf's, I think, risen in popularity quite a bit over the last 5 years, especially with the younger demographic. But it was
Yeah.
not cool when I did it. But it gave me a lot of good skills. But that basically sent me down a path of going to school in Bozeman for film.
Okay.
And my move to Montana.
Wait, hold on. I got to jump in here. How did golf lead you to going to film school?
Well, that didn't. I kind of, I guess, was in my head a
Okay.
little bit ahead of myself, and that's just kind of how it came out.
Gotcha.
But just golfing and skiing, which are very much just personal sports, and like golf in Idaho is tough. There definitely were some really good golfers in junior golf that ended up playing a little bit on the PGA Tour, but we have a short window. It's kind of like baseball,
Yeah.
man. It's like if you're not living in California, Arizona, other places where you can play year round, it's a little bit tough. But yeah, so I went to school in Bozeman for film. And long story short, didn't know what I wanted to do. Knew I kind of wanted to run my own business. My brother was going to school in Missoula. He's 2 years younger than me. And so I went to Missoula, went to school, and the skiing was not as good as the Bozeman, Big Sky, Bridger scene. And I just kind of always felt like Montana had a different vibe for me than North Idaho for whatever reason. Growing up in North Idaho, really no one in my friend group ever hunted or exposed me to hunting, but
Oh, really?
Montana felt like more redneck, more country, more like
Interesting.
outdoor scene.
I was gonna say like it would be the opposite because I feel like
Well,
northern
yeah, now that
Idaho
I
is
live in
like,
Montana, I think North Idaho is way more redneck.
yeah, that's like if you want to like go
But
join a compound and like,
yeah,
you know,
which I wouldn't say hunting and redneck really go together, but for a lot of people they do.
True.
I just kind of felt obligated to hunt and fish and kind of just like naturally fell into it. And as
Yeah.
soon as I started doing it, it was sort of game over. I was just pretty blown away that I hadn't been exposed to it. I think I'm in my early 20s at this point, and we'd been into film a little bit on the ski side of things.
Okay.
And skiing at that point, it used to be Warren Miller films and it was ski films, and so it was always like you wanted, if you were going to try to get into that industry, or if you were a skier or a snowboarder, that was your inspiration. And this is kind of right when the internet was kind of blowing up. There were a bunch of like ski videos online, and like that was what was like hyping up,
Yeah.
most of the younger demographic. And then you go into hunting and fishing and you're like trying to find the same content, and you're like, dude, it's an old demographic on
Right.
TV, canned hunts. Like, this is not capture what I'm out doing.
Yeah.
And so we started our own. It was just a blog at first. It was called Montana Wild, and it
Okay.
adapted as I went to school for business, and got a minor in media arts, and just taught ourselves how to run a media company making hunting and fishing films, and turned it into a business, and did that for, I don't know, probably like 6 or 7 years before Travis and I, our paths in life kind of split a little bit. He ended up meeting Sarah and getting married, and now he's about to have his fourth kid. And I
Mm.
kept doing a lot of the same things and just working more as like a third party independent contractor for brands. And then about 3.5 years ago, started working for Stone Glacier as their director of content.
Okay.
But not married, no kids, have a girlfriend, pretty minimal responsibilities outside of the old lady and work.
That makes it a little easier to just kind of take off for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I was going to ask about that. So Montana Wild, that's like your production company you started, and you were basically like a for hire producer that companies would hire
Mm.
you to produce films, or
We would produce content as part of some of our contracts, but we were really more like it was like kind of like the beginning of like collective like media group brands. Like now we have like Born and Raised and
mm,
Hushin', those types of groups. I mean, it was kind of like one of the it was similar to that, I would say, from like
okay,
how you would consume content. Like, we made films and just put them out on YouTube, and like ran a bunch of social media pages, and like, you know, like that was our primary output, was leveraging our eyeballs for brands. But then as part of our contracts, we would deliver assets to them, where there was photos or, individual films for a brand. It was
mm,
kind of package deals.
okay. And so now you're like full time in house at Stone Glacier.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, nice.
So I am the director of content, and so I pretty much have my hands in every photo project and video project we do. And probably half the video projects, I'm either filming them, editing them, or some of them, like we saw in the process, like in front of the camera.
Yeah,
And as far as photo assets, I probably shoot a third, 30,
nice,
40% of what we need as a brand, and then work with a small group of photographers and filmers for the rest of the stuff.
nice, man. Well, I gotta say, I really admire what you guys do over there. Like your catalogs are like beautiful.
Thank you.
I really like your catalogs a lot. Your films I like too, obviously, but I don't know. It's one of the few like catalogs where you can just look at it like it's a magazine. It's just like looks really cool.
Yeah. And part of that's content, how we build the content and think about it. And part of it's Lyle's, our marketing director, Lyle Hebel. He's kick
Yeah,
ass, the design side of things and
for
piecing it all
sure.
together. But we always laugh because people like what we do, and we're like, they're like, what do you guys do? How do you like what's the secret? What's the like? And we're like, there isn't one, man. Like, we're actual hunters.
Yeah,
Like, this is what like we do. Like, the shit we're doing is the stuff that's in the catalog, man. Like,
yeah,
not that hard. Like we're the customer of our own product and like
Yeah.
dudes we would sell to. So it's like whatever we think is cool and whatever we're doing, in a lot of ways,
Yeah. Because you
our
can't
brand.
fake that
So,
stuff, right? I mean, like
so
it, like a hunter will look at a photo, like a staged photo, and instantaneously be like, "Oh, and then you just completely disconnect from it. And that's why I think that this content is so valuable because, like you said, it's simple, but it's not easy,
mhm.
like to get this stuff, right?
No, it's hard. I mean,
Yeah.
the reason that our photos are rad is because like we were actually like 10 miles in actually packing a bull out. We didn't just like take a set of horns and throw them on a pack and go drive up some mountain somewhere and hike
Right.
around for a mile and get our shots and go home. Like we
Yep.
were hunting.
Exactly.
It's wild, man, like how many companies, even some of the biggest ones, still just go out and shoot staged,
Yeah.
in my opinion, lame photo shoots. Like it's so easy to pick out, and
Yeah.
not every consumer has a high attention to detail, or they haven't been hunting a lot of times, so people get tricked and think it's whatever. But
Yeah.
if you're positioning yourself as a brand that resonates with a very avid hunter, like, and you can't even communicate that, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. I'm
So
glad that the way I see it is the way Stone Glacier sees it, and that's been a big plus for us, and that's super important to how we are as a brand, because I don't think I could work for companies that didn't agree with
yeah.
that sentiment.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like when you have a brand that's creating content in-house, it can a lot of times turn into, a 30-minute commercial. I think it's very easy to go that route, but you guys, and I feel like I've seen some like older films from Stone Glacier that like had a little more of that, but
Mhm.
like recently like everything's been very much just like a straight hunt film. But of course, like I said, it is a brand. So how much does that factor into, um, because knowing your audience is so huge and knowing what you're trying to say, convey through a film is so important. Um, how does that influence how you guys make your films?
Mm. I mean, at the end of the day, we just do what we think is cool. Like that's honestly it.
Yeah.
There's no secret sauce. We have obviously a bunch of hunts amongst the guys that are just in our shop and our close group of friends, and we pick stuff that works. And I know from being involved so heavily, both in front and behind the camera, what it's going to take to get the right assets out of actual real trips, that we pretty much just cherry pick the ones that make the most sense. And then obviously we look at what new products we're coming out with and make sure that they need to like check those boxes. But
Sure.
that's the not as sexy stuff.
Yeah.
That's what our business, is driven by. We got to sell product at the end of the day. But yeah, it's not crazy complicated. We just do the stuff we think is rad, which is honestly like what was so successful about what we did at Montana Wild is we just did the hunts and the things that we thought was rad, and we were actually the guys that were putting in the work trying to like be good at hunting, and we are super passionate about it, and that's how it
Yeah.
is here at Stone Glacier. Like the guys that we go hunting with and document are super passionate about it, and they're good at it. They love the gear, and just makes life pretty easy.
Yeah.
Obviously, we need to be professionals and make sure that we're checking the boxes and having our shot lists for photos and videos and making sure that we're getting everything we need to in the field. And that's the hard part. That's the work side of it, where people cannot, most people or a lot of people, when they go on a hunt, it's hard for them to have 25% of their brain or whatever running. That's like
For sure.
the film's the priority, or like the photo shoot is like what we're really like. That's why we're getting paid to be here,
Right. Right. Because if you just throw that out the door and you're just like, I'm just going to shoot. I don't care if I'm on the animal. I mean, like you said, you have to realize that that's a priority. And that's something I like decided a while ago too. Is like, yes, you're there to hunt, but you probably wouldn't be there hunting if you didn't have this purpose. So, it's a weird balance though too. But you have to prioritize that, or else you're just there like on vacation or whatever, right?
Yeah. I mean, like the process is kind of a prime example. Like I'd spend a bunch of time down there hunting and Stone Glacier dollars, having filmers, and like I still hadn't killed a buck. And I easily could have said, like, hey man, like we gave it a good shot. We just didn't get one, like that's it. But like I had 3 or 4 days left, and like I did not want to throw like my whole camp and my spotter and my tripod and my rifle and my extra ammo and 3 lenses and batteries and 2 cameras and a trigger cam in my backpack and hike back into the backcountry and like set up all the shots while I'm trying to kill a buck on, a tag that I've waited for 8 or 9 years now to like come hunt and find a deer that I wanted to shoot and set up all the cameras. Like that's the stuff where people don't want to put the extra effort in.
Yeah.
That sets your content so much apart from the standard handy cam, just like a guy was there and filmed it and that was kind of it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So we're talking about the process. You mentioned the process, and just for people listening, if they haven't seen it, it's a pretty new. It's a couple weeks now, 2 or 3 weeks.
I've been like 3 weeks or so.
3 weeks, and we're recording this on August 1st, so pretty new film, and it's the process is like the perfect name for it because it's really not just like a hunt. It's like kind of a journey over an entire season, including the preseason scouting and everything, to come away with, a big, mature mountain mule deer, which is an accomplishment. So, what's it like? It just struck me as interesting or different. Or I don't know. So for me, like, I have, and I may be totally wrong here, but I have, at least right now, I have like a bunch of hunts I'm trying to plan, for one season. And it's very different from approaching, like dedicating basically almost an entire fall to like one big accomplishment,
Mhm.
Like, what do you prefer that, or what's that kind of like? Because it's kind of a cool way to do it. It's like it's only one animal, but it's like a really hard to find, hard to kill animal, and like you're investing a lot of time and effort into this one tag.
Yeah. I the more I hunt, the more I want to just spend the right amount of time on hunts that are important to me. And this was an important hunt. I mean, it's an over the counter tag for residents, so it's not a
Okay.
crazy limited tag. It's just there's good deer in the mountains here. And when I put in for it, it was only like, 3 or 4 points. I thought I'd be down there, and before I knew it, and then point creep and other
Mm.
things happen. And before you know it, it's 8 or 9 years. And, you wait that long, you want to do a tag justice. And I really love mountain mule deer hunting. Montana's a horrible state for it. There's some really big deer here somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm still trying
Why?
to figure out
Why
where
is
that's
that, you
at and
think?
how to find them. I
Why is
mean,
that, you think?
Montana is really an opportunity state, and I don't know why, because we do have some good elk. Like, I think it's easier to find a good bull than it is a good buck.
Yeah.
Probably part of that is that during the rut, they make a ton of noise.
Yeah.
Mule deer bugle during the rut, it'd be a lot easier to hunt them because you could hunt the timber effectively.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just tough. So,
Yeah. So I,
and
I actually hunted Montana this year for the first time for deer. I hunted eastern Montana though, but I shot this guy.
yeah,
And super fun. I mean, definitely a different experience from mountain mule deer. I did one of those as well in Idaho. Way different experience, like way less deer density.
yeah,
But both were cool and had their own unique challenges.
Hmm.
But you really like prefer the mountain hunting, huh?
I think it's just for where I live, it has better potential for like a big deer,
Yeah.
and I mean, that's like a 180-inch plus buck, but really like coming across like a 190 or 200, and like I've shot smaller deer that were old deer that I liked, and that's not always the final like determinant of what kind of deer I'm gonna shoot. But like I know those ones are here in our mountains, and like that's kind of like I don't really need to go shoot a mule deer.
Yeah.
And I like the challenge, and I've shot enough to have shot them, and at this point I just want to challenge myself to find a big old mature deer. Now if I go find a deer that I think is really old and he's really cool and he's a 2x3 and I like him, like I'll still shoot him. But what I'm looking for is like perfection in my imagination of like what I know is out there by seeing other people, shoot deer of that caliber, and just what gets me excited to go into like shitty spots in the mountains. And I know one day that like it'll all align and it'll be worth it.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I got this tag, I just and as I get older, like finding those animals, like anyone that's successful, like anyone that's a really good hunter that kills a lot of things spends a ton of time in the field. Like that's really the biggest difference between most guys having success and the guys that regularly kill stuff is the guys that regularly kill stuff. If they're out on public land with, pretty average tags, like they're just putting in more time than you, man. Like,
Hmm.
and the more time they spend, the more they understand the animal, the better they get, like the better hunter they are, which means now they actually need less time, but they're still spending more time than you. And like, that's why they're converting on these hunts. And so it's like, for me, if it's an important hunt, I want to just spend more time and not feel pressured. I mean, even a week long hunt, dude, it's 2, 3, 4 days before you even really feel like you know what you're doing. And then you're like,
Yeah.
oh crap, I'm on the back half of the hunt. I need to get it done.
Yeah.
If it's
Yeah. It takes 2 or 3 days
10 to
like to
20
settle in.
days, which I didn't do it all consecutively, but it adds up,
Yeah.
like that's a lot of time to get everything to come together and present an opportunity. And like sometimes hunts, dude, the opportunity, like you screw it up or someone else kills your deer or whatever, and you got to kind of start at square one again. And like, if you don't have any time, then,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I like the chess game and the learning and the experience of it. I mean, if it was like, hey, you can go out and get an animal in 1 or 2 days, I probably wouldn't like hunting as much. Like, obviously, I want to be successful and get the thing I set out to get, but I do like it to be hard. I mean,
Yeah.
even in film, it's like it's easy to say that on the front end. It's easy for me to say that right now, sitting on my couch. When it's like day 20 something, and you're like, dude, I just want to get this thing over with now. I
Yeah.
don't care about how hard it is anymore. Then that's
Yeah.
fine. Because all you've already done the thing that you wanted to do by then. Like you've learned all the things about yourself at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Because when you
felt
don't learn
that.
that much, if you go out and hunt for just a weekend, like it's pretty tough for you to really be like crazy challenged unless there's gnarly weather. You just went way in over your head to where like it tests your actual like character.
Yeah.
And part of hunting for me is like if you aren't like learning more about yourself as a hunter when you're out hunting, like I kind of think you're making a mistake.
Totally. Yeah.
So
That's what attracted me so much to just because I grew up hunting, but it was always, drive to a spot, go out to the tree stand, drive home. You know what I mean? Like, but when you're out there, really, I mean, maybe it sounds cliche, but when you're out there grinding for days and you're in there living in it, I mean, it's a totally different experience, and yeah, you definitely learn more and you grow more from that challenge than you do just kind of climbing into a tree stand, scrolling through your phone for 3 hours, and then going home.
yeah, for sure.
Um,
And there's a time and a place for all that
for
stuff.
sure, yeah.
But I'm still young enough to go send it in the mountains, and I like that. So
Yeah. And it does suck a lot of times in the moment. I mean, like I felt that in this film, like I think it was like towards the end of the archery season and you're just kind of like at the low and it was basically like how my bear season went. And it's just like challenge after challenge after roadblock after flooded stream after everything and like it's hard to keep going, man.
Yeah. And it depends on people's personality types. Like I'm the kind of person that if I'm going to do it, I want to do it well. And so it's like you go into the gym, man, you want big muscles, you want to be stronger, like you got to be stressed, like you have to stress the muscles out,
Hmm.
literally. So it's like if you want to go do something challenging hunting, like you kind of got to find stressful situations to really like grow and learn and comprehend. And like, if you just walk down a logging road here and there, like it's not as much of a learning experience as like I'm gonna do like a 10-mile loop today. I'm getting off trail. I want to see what's on that north face or in that bottom. I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna do this. And like I've went on so many death marches, but I've learned a lot
Yeah.
during those death marches.
Yeah, man. And like one thing that I kind of learned, especially speaking of that bear hunt this year, and I think it's kind of an easy trap maybe to fall in for content creators because you do have that pressure, like you were saying earlier. You've been spending company money, like you want to fill a tag, and like there might be even a little more pressure on people creating content. Um, but at the same time, you really have to. This type of hunting is so much of an experience that like if you're just looking at it as okay, I'm going to go in, fill this tag, check this box, and go home as soon as possible, you will have a terrible time. You'll stress out the whole time. And I found myself on this bear hunt like that, with that mindset going in, like, okay, I'm going to go in, kill a bear, and get home.
Yeah.
Because I got young kids and stuff like that, and I'm not trying to make excuses. But then I got back to Idaho to Luke's house, and I had like a day before I flew out. And I was just trying to like, I always like process after a big hunt like that, and I'm like, man, like I was just stressing out, freaking out, going from spot to spot like the whole time. I like barely enjoyed it at all. So it's like I'm trying to like learn how to do that. Like, do you
Yeah.
struggle with that at all?
I mean, I used to a lot more than I do now. I mean, anytime you're in the content space, it's like you don't need to kill stuff, but you do, you
Yeah.
know? Like if you don't ever kill anything, like people would be like, dude, that guy's whack. Like, but dude, like it's
Yeah.
okay if you didn't, like fill some tags. Like if you never kill anything, like I don't know, man.
Right.
So you like, and just from an eyeballs perspective, like it's just a fact that like dead animals and dead things
Yeah.
generally get more attention now. And not to say that people can't go shoot small animals in the scale of like trophies and score and all that you can, but like when you've seen a dude that has killed like boatloads of animals and it's like the end of the hunt and all of a sudden like a 120-inch mule deer pops out and he's like, I'm gonna fill my tag, and he's doing it because in his
Yeah.
head like it's not a success for like him and his brand and the things if he doesn't kill something and he shoots it. You're just like, dude, I wish you would have just not killed anything in that, in
Yeah.
that scenario. Um, but yeah, like there's definitely pressure to get it done because that's what we're trying to do. But
Yeah.
the older I've gotten, it's like, man, you just cannot expect every trip to be a success. And like, what more can you do other than going out and giving it your all? And part of hunting is like, dude, we wouldn't do it if it's not fun. And if you're so stressed out about whether you killed something or not, it's not fun anymore. And that basically means like you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
So that's just personal growth, and that's like a lot of things in life, man. There's a lot of things that you put on a pedestal and you want. And okay, you got the thing. Are you that much more happy? No, it was probably the process of actually getting to the thing that felt rewarding that made you happy and not so much the thing. And so
Yeah.
like that's
Totally.
where I think, you know, some people maybe aren't as introspective of like their own selves when they're out hunting. But
Hmm.
when you're in the public eye and you're creating content and you're trying to reflect it, you're, putting yourself out there and you're struggling and you're stressing out, over years and of doing it, you just learn a lot. And so
Yeah.
at a pretty good spot, I think, where, dude, it's not the end of the world if we don't kill something, but if we're not trying, like, I'm gonna say something like, let's try if we're gonna go out there and go on this hunt and try to do it. And if we don't get one at the end of the day, man, it's all good. Like, we
Yeah.
tried. Like,
Yep.
that's how hunts go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like everything in life. It's such a balancing act. But yeah, because I found myself in this hunt, like I found myself not having fun, and I was like, this is not cool, you know. And it was literally like mentally it was mentally the toughest hunt I've ever done. I mean, we hunted I think 7 days, and we saw one sow and cub the entire time, and like literally, like I almost drowned in a pack raft. Like half the roads we tried to go down were closed. It was either 80 degrees and completely green, or I was like post holing down to my waist in snow. Like it was just it was rough. But I do feel like, again, not to be like Mr. Cliche over here, but you do learn so much more from quote unquote failures. I feel like if you kill something, it's just kind of like everything goes out the door, and it's like, yep, I got it.
Yep.
When you don't, you're sitting there, like I was just sitting there just like literally breaking apart like every step of the hunt, what we did, where we messed up, what we could have done differently, how I would have done it, you know, different. So definitely came out of it. And honestly, the episode that I put together from this bear hunt is the only hunt that I did this year we didn't kill stuff. And it's actually one of the best episodes that I've put together. And that's just part of it's just because I'm getting better at doing it, but also like I said, it doesn't have to be a kill in every episode, you know?
No. I mean, we plan to.
Can't
but
be.
It won't always be.
Yeah.
Like, we plan now for, like, okay, if you guys don't kill something, like, what's the story? Like, how do we still make this a captivating piece? Like, what else is there?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And the other thing that's interesting about kind of my perspective is that I'm in the content space, but also I'm fairly new to Western hunting. So I'm very much still on this progression, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this year I killed my first mule deer ever, and he's tiny. But that was okay with me. And like, I'm still okay with it. Would I do it again? I'm not sure, but then I went and I got this guy. He's only a 2-point, but he's nice.
That's the stuff that, like, because hunting's such an ego-driven sport that people are like if more people told the story of like, bro, I haven't killed a deer, dog. This one is the one for me. People be like, hell yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like I was kind of,
or maybe you're going home. You're like, yeah, dog. I'm out. Now that I've killed this one, I don't know if I do it again next year. You know, like people can relate to that. Like people, their ability to be relatable, because it's hunting, bro. Got to get the big one. Gotta, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's like fine if you're in that part of your journey as a hunter where like you want to get the big one. That's cool, but like that's not everybody. And it's like, just be you. Like,
for sure.
It's the problem. Like people get into content and they're like, well, what do the people want? Like, what do the people expect me to be? And then it's like, well, now you're not yourself anymore, and you're just you're not happy. Like, you shouldn't be doing this at that point. Like, you just need to have your own identity and like be able to own it. And like, it's hard. Like, trust me, man. Like, putting yourself out there, like me, like I wanted to kill a big deer. Like, I'm like, I better find some, I hope, because if I don't, I'm gonna look like an idiot. You know, I think like I know I can find them. Like, I've done it before, but it's also a lot of pressure, you know, but it's like, it's okay. Like,
yeah, man. Like I struggled with it. Like, you know, like, should I put this out? You know, like, am I going to get the haters? And I'm sure we'll get haters because, like I said, he's tiny. But it was a mountain hunt. It was incredibly low densities. We hunted for 5 days without even seeing a single buck. And, like I said, it was my first deer ever. And I was like, you know what? I'm definitely going to get haters, but you're going to get those no matter what. I was like, but I'm probably also going to get some of those people that are like, this is cool, because I'm not like some mountain badass that grew up like hunting out west. Like I said, that was my first mule deer ever. And like, you know, I e-scouted it. I found the spot. I hiked us in. We hunted hard and we killed deer, and they're small. We killed 2 deer actually, and they're both small, but but it's okay. That's the progression, right?
Great. Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't know that many people, unless their dad's like a mega hunter, that just killed giants from day one. So,
right, yeah. So, but yeah, it's just a weird balance, like you said, when you're putting yourself out there for the world, but like I think no matter what you do, there's always going to be trolls like, oh, this guy sucks. What a douche,
oh, 100%, man.
Yeah. So, but then my second mule deer is this guy. He's only a 2-point, but he's like a mature deer. Let me
Oh,
show
I was
you.
gonna say on eastern Montana, that could be like a 10-year-old buck.
Wait, say that again. Sorry.
I said for eastern Montana, that could be like a 10-year-old buck, just crappy genetics.
Yeah, no, seriously, like
Old and like just haggard, just
yeah, like and just his body language, like he like every other buck we saw was kind of like a thin horned couple 4x4s, but like pretty thin, and they'd maybe be poking around 2 or 3 does. This dude was just posted up, bedded with like 8 does around him on a hillside, just like, yep, these are mine.
yeah, and that's like part of it that goes into like animal you kill, man. It's not just a number. It's not just one thing. It's like it's okay to have goals and to shoot for things, but like at the end of the day, when you're out there, it's like it just needs to feel right. Just needs
Totally.
like that's all it is. Like if it got you going, then shoot it.
Oh yeah, like look at the size. This is a coos deer, but
Yeah.
like look at the size difference in just the head.
It's actually pretty hilarious.
It's gnarly. And even next to, like, I'm used to whitetails, right? So, like, when I was with the guys' coos deer, they're like, oh, isn't he tiny? And, like, I'm from the South. I was like, I mean, he's small, but, like, I'm used to, like, kind of small deer. And, like, I saw this thing, and I was like, oh, my gosh, he's, like, huge looking. But he's not even, like, that big. But anyway.
He's a dinosaur, man.
Yeah, he's a cool buck. So, yeah, I don't remember where we were, but you were talking about planning, like, if you guys don't kill or whatever, and I don't know, for me, I mean, you always want to like kind of brainstorm, I guess, like ideas on storylines and where it could go and stuff like that. You got to do your homework and do that. But I very much I feel like it just kind of unfolds the way it unfolds, and you just kind of tell it. Do you guys spend a lot of time kind of in pre-production, like thinking through how you want it to go? Because the way you guys told the story of the process was interesting. It was kind of non-traditional. Like you sort of started in the low point, kind of,
Yep.
which was like this huge buck that you said looked like he was maybe even like a 200-inch buck, and like these dudes shoot it and like blow one of its antlers off or something. And then it kind of goes back and tells
out. He said the antler broke off, so I don't
really.
I know.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Did you find out any more about that buck?
Yeah, I talked to the guy. He was nice, and he liked the film. It's tough when you're filming and you see people out there because, I mean, unless you were there, unless you saw it, who's to say what happened, right? Like,
Right.
To me, in that moment, it very much seemed like that dude shot the antler off. But I'm definitely not saying I'm right. Like he said, it got caught under a boulder of granite and snapped it off, and it was soft inside, so it could have just snapped off. Like who knows? Regardless, the point really was that like this deer was so beautiful and like dream deer, and now it was in parts and pieces, and it like was like a freaking knife into your like already like big wound, at the time. But yeah, I just wanted to like at least feel like I gave a shout out to that dude's side of the story, because
yeah, for
I
sure,
didn't talk about anything in the film, and
yeah,
I think he probably took it well, but it did, we did kind of make it seem like he shot it off, or that was my assumption of what I thought happened.
Well, because antlers don't that time of year break off very easily. Like that would take some serious force.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, and then like that's seeing other guys like that to me is like, it's unfortunate because they're just like-minded guys most of the time, and most of the time they're great guys and they're just doing what you're trying to do. So I try to really like intentionally not like I try to not even call it like pressure. I just try to say like they're fellow hunters because I don't want to like frame it in a negative way all the time. But I do gotta say like that is one of the most disheartening things like in the world is when you have this great spot and then you just see dudes everywhere. It's like so disheartening.
Yeah, and everybody can relate to that. They'll be
For
like
sure.
dudes that are like, "Oh, bro, 18 days of hunting and you're whining, man. Some dudes can't even get a like. Oh, they worked all year to get a week, you know." And it's
Yeah.
like you just can't let what people have to say. It's like, dude, if you're a hunter at all, you've been upset about people being in your spot, whether
Yeah.
it was justified and you should have felt that way or not, like, and if you really want to make hunting a priority in your life, you can make life decisions to get more time in the field. Like,
Yeah.
I've prioritized ways to find time to be out hunting. But yeah, we kind of got a little sidetracked from like the storyline, but
Oh yeah.
it's pretty easy to be very chronological with films. And so,
That's true. Trying to
like
do it in a creative way.
this was like my baby. Like I knew it was going to be cool because I was going to put the time in and felt pretty confident I'd find some big deer. And it felt like a project worthy of our time from a brand perspective. But, once you get it all done, and you have all this footage and you're just like, oh my goodness, like what am I going to do? Like there's so much. And I wanted, before I started, like I had the name, the process, because I knew that was like what I was going to do.
Yeah.
You're just like, man, this is gonna be a long film. Like,
Yeah, it's
how
like an hour long. It's
how
like
do we like do it in a
it
way?
mirrors the actual process cuz like even parts of the film, not saying like I'm saying this in a good way. It's going to sound bad, but like I'm like when you're watching it, you're like struggling with you. But then like when it does come together in the end, you're like more stoked and it's like, okay, this is cool. This is something different than just like, okay, we're hiking, okay, we're glassing, okay, we shot one, pack out, woo, beers. You know what I mean?
But yeah, so I kind of, most projects I have the creative freedom to do it the way I want to do it, and pretty much 100% of the time, everyone is like, "Yep." Well, there'll be some minor change, like cut this down a little bit, or I maybe do this, and it's usually great feedback. But David Nolt, who I work with, he was just kind of like, maybe try telling the story like this, and he just gave me a good idea to not like, let's not be chronological with it. Like,
Mm,
let's think of some other ways to,
yeah,
you know, talk about your hunt and the process. And so that was super helpful. I mean, I internally didn't want to do that because that's not the norm,
right.
and it takes more time. And I already knew it was going to take me so much time to edit this, but I just kind of like thought about it real quick, kind of came up with an idea how I could do it and just started down that path. And then it just worked. It felt like it was going to work. And so I just ran with it. But
Yeah. How do you feel about voiceovers generally?
I tried to avoid them at all costs, but it's really just about impossible
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
to really tell a story about a hunt and like have the camera rolling enough and get enough good sound bites and like prioritize that to not have any. But yeah, I spend a lot of time doing voiceover, redoing voiceover, writing scripts, reading the script, then like just like spitballing, like freestyling, because it's like the best voiceover is when you talk the way that you would if you were telling a story to a buddy
Right.
and not writing it out and reading it, and
Yeah.
sometimes you have to do that. We don't all have the luxury, even if it's your job to spend unlimited amounts of time to get it perfect. So at some point you got to get things done, but
Mm-hmm.
it's worth trying to get it right, and it takes a lot of time to do that. It's really, really tough. But yeah,
Yeah.
ideally you would build a story or like interview people in the field. Like the actual person making the final film wouldn't really have to do a lot of that, but
Yeah.
we're not Hollywood, man, and like it's hunting film, so a lot of
Yeah.
times you have some voiceover to like stitch stuff together.
Especially if you're telling it in a kind of creative way like you did with this one, not like I said, not chronological, which was really cool because it is very easy to just day 1, day 2, day 3, and that's fine. But it was unique the way you did it, and it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where do you get your music? Do you use Artlist or do you use something else?
Yeah, I have a couple music sites. It's funny to use music and hear music, and
Yeah.
you're like, "Yep, I know where that came from." And
I know. I hear stuff all the time. I'm like, oh, I just used that one the other day.
yeah,
But I looked at Music Bed, and it's just too much. It's just too much, man.
yeah.
For me, right now, anyway. Um, this is like an opinion question. I think I know where you lie on this, but it's just kind of something interesting I've been thinking about lately. Because you look at like some of the new, like for example, the new Cameron Haynes film that came out, that Brandon Shockey did,
Yeah.
with the brown bear. It's very much told for the curious non-hunter and the casual hunter, but also for the hardcore hunter. And I've been thinking a lot with my work, like it's tempting to want to tell a story just to like the hardcore hunters because that's what we are. But you're really painting yourself into a corner and like boxing yourself in audience wise. I don't know. How do you feel about that? Do you ever think about, producing films more in that vein, like to the non-hunter community, or do you kind of like speaking directly to the hardcore guys, or it's a mix of both?
I mean, I don't think any of our films wouldn't resonate with any hunter because I think we
I mean,
show
like
of
like
the
something that Meat Eater did so well. Not that we should be copying Meat Eater, but the reason why I think he's so big is because like non-hunters can watch it and be like, "Oh, this is interesting," you know?
yeah. I mean, it comes back to like, are you doing what you like to do, or are you doing what you think is going to get the most views? You know,
True, true.
I don't really care about views, man. I want to do the thing I want to do. Like, if I wanted to make money, or like, because if you're wanting views, like, why are you wanting views? To make more money.
Right.
If I wanted to make more money, I wouldn't work in the hunting industry, dog. Like,
That's
I'm
true, but I mean,
gonna go do
you
something
gotta
else. And
you
like,
you
so
gotta
if I'm
pay the
gonna be in
bills
the hunting
though.
space, I might as well be doing what I want to do, right? Like, I'm here because I'm passionate about it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's true.
that's how
Just
I feel about it. I mean, even like the Cameron Haynes and like that little group of dudes, I think like if I went in, was thrown in a room, like showed up at like a buddy's house for like just a chill little house party, and Cameron Haynes and some of those dudes were there, like we'd get along, we'd have a great time. But like, I think they overhype a lot of aspects to get
yeah,
those views, to have that like
for sure,
edge that, for real
for
hunters,
sure.
like, bro, like, no, that's not really how it is. But for like the non-hunter, like, dude, these bros are savages. They're
Yeah,
fucking gladiators of the earth,
yeah,
man.
no,
They're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
so
Killed
I
a
don't know.
black bear.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, black bears run from you when they see you. No, I get it. And yeah, it's just like just keep. I feel like in the conversation we keep going back to like balance. It's just like because I'm with you, man. Like I like making the stuff that speaks to the hardcore hunter, but you do got to pay the bills, and I'm kind of in business for myself right now, which is another interesting thing. But anyway, I just thought it's just something I've been kind of thinking about lately. So.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, the thing is, like, at the end of the day, people are more captivated by people that are authentically themselves. Like, Cameron
Totally.
Haynes is Cameron Haynes now because he was himself when he started. Like,
Yeah,
whether or not I think that's really exactly how he feels and the cameras aren't on him or not, like, he was a badass. He's a savage. Like,
for
that's
sure.
Cameron Haynes. Cameron Haynes is still running ultras when,
Yeah.
like, nobody's covering him. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
he just found ways to leverage it, and sometimes it feels a little inauthentic. It feels like it's a little bit for the views and the camera, but like at the end of the day, like all these people are themselves who are ultimately like truly successful.
Hmm. Yep. Um, we're coming pretty close on time. Just a couple more things I wanted to ask you about. Another thing I really liked about what you were saying, which something that resonated with me, was like you came at this not intentionally, not like asking colleagues or industry folks like for spots or whatever and stuff like that. That's such an easy thing, especially when you know some people, to do. Like, hey man, can you drop me some pins or whatever? And sometimes it's helpful, like if you don't have any time to scout or whatnot. But I really like that, because that was like for me with this bear hunt, going back to that, like I wanted to go to this spot. Like Luke knew some spots where he thought there was some bears. Like, no, I want to go to this spot because I found it. Like, I want to go there. It looks good, and I want to have that like sense of pride of like I found this. And it was the only spot we saw bears, the 2 bears we saw the entire week. But and then I got this really it was my goal this year to kill my first elk ever, right? And somehow, like just stupidly, I drew like an amazing New Mexico muzzleloader elk hunt. Like for my first, I've filmed elk hunts, but I've never actually done one. So anyway, so it starts playing tricks in your head, like, you need to, and people have even reached out to me, hey, like, we need to come help you out, and like, I'm really hesitant. And like, I was going to try to, collaborate with some like really good elk hunter and get someone to help me and stuff. And then coming back from this bear hunt, I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to take my cousin, who doesn't, he's like a casual hunter, but we've done all kinds of hunts together and stuff. Doesn't know a thing about elk. I'm going to take my cousin, and I'm not going to get a guide, and I'm going to learn to call elk myself, and I'm going to e-scout it. And I'm lucky because it's like an amazing place with tons of elk, so that's on my side. But I really like that, and I feel like that is what makes you a better hunter. That was what was cool about this film too.
Yeah. Yeah, and not every hunt, like I don't want to seem like I don't ever like take a hint or a tip from people, but like this is one where like I really do love mountain mule deer hunting, and I just wanted to see like I knew there were deer there. Like if I put the time in, I should be able to figure it out. Like, what am I capable of as a hunter? Like versus what I think I am in my head. Like in Montana, and I said it in the film, it's like I feel like I'm doing all the right things. It's just Montana is just hard. So like this is kind of a proving ground of myself of like, am I actually doing the right things? Like if I like look at the map and like these areas look good to me, these would be areas I'd hunt in Montana, and then I go and I scout them, and like how does that all work? And it's like I knew I was going to go scouting, so if scouting didn't pan out, like I could always still ask people for some help.
Yeah.
Which obviously it panned out, and I didn't need to do that. But like this is just where I wanted that challenge, where like, this year
test yourself.
I drew a Utah elk tag, like not an insane one or anything, but like I'm just going down there more to like have fun. Like I know I can kill nice elk, and I'm asking people where they want to look, and like I'm getting spots of like general areas to go check out. So it's not like every hunt I'm like, if I don't figure it out myself, bro, then like it doesn't matter. It's like every hunt's its own little journey.
Sure.
Some of them you want to challenge yourself and go on like a spirit quest, and other ones you want to hang out with the boys and have a good time. And like that's the cool part about hunting, is so diverse that like have fun with it. Like challenge yourself, but also have fun hunts. Like have easy hunts, have hard hunts, have long hunts, have short ones, have
They don't all have to be like some crazy backcountry, like insane. Yeah, for sure. Actually, I'm really stoked because, well, I have no like true backcountry hunts this year. I'm actually kind of excited about it. They're all like truck camp hunts,
Every year by like middle of November, you're like, next year I'm not backpack hunting at all.
I know. It's just so tough,
like
man.
A base camp.
Yeah. It's just so tough. Like every single thing is a struggle. Like drinking water is a struggle. Everything is a struggle. But it's good. I usually like to do at least one of those per year, but like I'm not butthurt that I don't have one this year.
Yeah.
Although Alaska is kind of backcountry, but we're not packing in. Like we will be back there, but like we're getting dropped off at least. So it's not like we're hiking everything in.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people in my shoes too, of like having to teach themselves how to hunt. But like I never had like dad or grandpa's or anyone's
Oh yeah.
spots to go check out. And it was like, I'm not that good at hunting. I'm just gonna hike harder and further than people, and hopefully the animals are more stupid there, and then I can get one.
Yeah.
You know? And then the more you hunt in some spots, not all of them, like there is an advantage if you can get into more difficult remote country, because again,
Absolutely.
most people aren't willing to do it. So if you just eliminated a massive pool of the hunters that are going out there, then like the competition's less, which means your odds of actually like killing an animal are better. And
Absolutely.
as far as just general opportunity, now going 15 miles in or 1 mile in, like that might not dictate trophy quality at all. In a lot of spots, like some spots, the biggest bull might be like half a mile
Yeah.
off the road in this sneaky little spot, like on this
Yeah.
one corner, and you could go back 15 miles and be like, there's nothing here. I'm an idiot. So
Yeah. It's so true. And just getting like even just getting, even if you are doing like a base camp hunt, like even just like just getting off the beaten path a little bit can actually do quite a lot sometimes. Like I think our Montana deer hunt this year, I think the weather played a factor in it a little bit too, because literally it was -23 the first night we slept out there. But and like really deep snow. It was like right when all that, that crazy storm came through. But like we were back in the spot, off the beaten path, but not like crazy. Like we had our truck in a wall tent, and we saw one other guy like 5 miles away one day.
yeah,
And it was like amazing. So I mean, for me, even if like you said, the trophy quality is not there, just getting away and kind of having your own area is worth it. And so I'm going to try to condense my process into, I'm going 2 days early out to New Mexico, try to condense, just spend 2 days driving around and just trying to get a feel for it. Everyone I've talked to said they're like, there's elk everywhere. So, and I'm not picky. So
yeah,
hopefully it'll be good.
you should be teed up for success.
Yeah. Okay. Last question, man, because it's kind of a theme, one of the themes of the podcast. And it's like the first thing on your Instagram bio. It says follower of Jesus Christ. So your faith, like, is it I'm assuming it's a big part of your life. Is it part of your daily practice, or how does that factor into your life?
Yeah, it's definitely a daily part of every single day for me, and just trying to walk with the Lord. And
Nice.
obviously, if you're have any real religious beliefs, that there's ebb and flow to that, highs
Oh
and
yeah.
lows, and like that's very much a process as well. Having a relationship with someone that you can't sit across the table from is tough. Like it's easy to be on the ball with it and then let it, drift away. But it's
For
kind of
sure.
like my like North Star as far as my life and my beliefs, and, trying to grow as a human being. And it's something that, I probably could do a lot better job being vocal about, but I'm definitely not ashamed,
Yeah.
of that belief in my life. And
For
yeah,
sure,
it
man.
does. It drives a lot of what I do, hopefully more and more as I get older and, grow in that, and like
Yeah.
hopefully walk more closely with the Lord. But yeah, it's definitely something that's important to me.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. I mean,
And
is there,
it's dude. I mean, for people that don't have that, I do feel bad, because life's hard regardless of your circumstances, and
yeah.
like the ultimate freedom is knowing Jesus Christ, knowing that the end of the day your sins are forgiven and you can go to heaven, man. Like
Yeah.
you have the worst life ever, and like that freedom of like, dude, if the hunt doesn't work out, if this relation doesn't work out, if my job doesn't work out, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, dude, like at the end of the day it's going to be okay, is like, man, it makes your life so much better.
Yeah. It's like that confidence that like, no matter how bad it gets or how bad you screw up, like you cannot utterly fail
Mhm.
eternally. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
God's got you, especially if you have a close relationship and look to him as a good father, which I believe he is. Like you may stumble, you may fall, you may fail, but you will not utterly fail.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The hardest
gives you
part for me
confidence.
is like sometimes I'm like, dude, I'm so driven at other things in life. And like sometimes I feel like I'm so not. But then it's so easy. Like true saving faith is so easy. if you have it, like if you, like that's all it is, but then it's like, it's more, right? It needs to
Mm-hmm.
be more, like,
Yeah.
because like if Christ lives within you, like you should be a change, your character should change, and you should, like be wanting to remove as much sin from yourself as you can and recognizing more of it. Sometimes I'm struggle with being like, dude, like, how am I not doing more? How do I not feel more passionate about this? Like, where do I actually stand? Which, there's two sides to that. Like maybe you don't have the right faith, or maybe the devil's just in your ear trying to
Yeah.
dissuade you from, you know, knowing that like, dude, I'm saved at the end of the day. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to try to grow and be a better human being. I'm going to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tough thing, man. I mean, it's
Yeah.
good. In today's day and age, we don't have that many things that challenge our mental acuity and capacity of how we think, how we act, why we act.
Yeah.
And like, it's awesome. I'm glad
Yeah.
that, and like my testimony is not to jump into it, but like hunting is how I like truly got saved and
Oh,
like
wow.
actually believed like God was real and
Like through
wanted.
nature and stuff.
Yeah, dude, just like the beauty of like God's creation, how he pieced it all together and put it together is like,
Yeah.
I mean, dude, you watch Planet Earth and like God's not in the narration of that, but like, how do you believe that like that's not
Yeah.
finely designed?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like,
Like a jellyfish is like like a simple like amoeba is like insanely complex, or like a
for the
human
fact that
eyeball.
like the most studied thing in the world is the human body, and we still don't even know how to cure cancer, dog. Like, we still don't even know how it all works.
Yeah.
It's that just came about, just some stuff like I
Right,
don't
dude.
know.
Actually,
I
yeah.
believe like, that's your
Yeah.
thing, and like, that's the cool thing about God is He gave us freedom of choice. So
Yeah, but yeah, I think so too. I mean, for same thing with me is like just seeing the complexity and how everything is so interwoven in the natural world. It's like it almost takes more faith for me to like not believe. And like you were saying earlier, like with ebbs and flows. I mean, it's just like hunting, right? Like you can't always be on the mountaintop. It just doesn't work that way. You can't always be climbing up. Like there's gonna be valleys, there's gonna be peaks, and I think being able to rest in, like you said, the fact that you're saved. Yes, we are trying to progress and get better, just like physical fitness or anything else, man. Like you're not just gonna build muscle the rest of your life until you're like Hulk,
yeah,
and like spilling out the door. Like it just doesn't work that way.
no.
So, but cool,
Yeah,
man. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
yeah,
Yeah, man, we've gone about an hour, so that's usually about when I call it. So, but it's been great chatting with you. Enjoyed the conversation, and thanks for taking some time.
yeah. Thanks for having me on. That was fun.
Yeah, man. All right, take it easy, dude.